And then it started raining, and it wasn't just raining, normal rain. It was raining sideways.
Ryan, I am excited to have you on the show today because you are this person that I look up to when it comes to doing your mobile operation in the weirdest, wildest places. And I'm just happy to have you on. There's no right or wrong answer. What's good, though?
Oh man, what is good though? What is good though? You know, life's good, health's good, pizza's getting good. You know, that's what's good. Dough.
When did you get started in pizza, man?
Oh man, this is probably 2013, when I moved back to the Central Valley, here in California. And, you know, I just started working at a restaurant part time, and they had a wood fired pizza oven, and it looked pretty cool. So, I kind of started there. You know, I messed up a lot. I burnt a lot of pizzas and made some pizzas that looked like some states. So, you know, and then worked on the craft after that.
When did you make the move into mobile catering?
I would say like 3 years into the restaurant scene. The guy that owned the restaurant had a little side business where he would do wood fired pizza ovens and he would do catering on the side. And he needed someone to help that day because he didn't have anybody. And you know, he asked me, and then that's how I got started. And then I kind of like fell in love with the catering aspect of pizza. It felt like an adventure. It felt like, you know, like we're going somewhere every day or every other day to do pizza for someone in a different location. So like all the different variables and the challenges, it was just exciting for me.
We're going to talk about the different variables that you talk about that you have to prepare for when doing mobile wood-fired catering, because I've seen it in your posts. You have done it in the forests. You've done it at parties. You've even done it at Harris Ranch. And it's like, how do you prepare for all of these different types of environments? What do you do? What do you do to get yourself ready?
You know, really depending on the party or location, sometimes you have to look at the weather, depending on the time of the year, especially like the winter time. You know, if you have to head up to the mountains, you got to make sure that it's not snowing and whatnot, or rain. Like, and you can still make pizza in all these crazy conditions because I have. You know, you just make sure you have enough dough prepared, enough ingredients. Sometimes bring extra because, you know, mistakes happen. You might drop something. And just, you know, just hope for the best. But really, at the end of the day, it's like making pizza is making pizza. Like, no matter if you're in the snow or in the rain, you're still making pizza.
When it comes down to dough management, I feel like that could be the hardest thing when you're traveling, or one of the harder things to manage. How are you?
Yes.
If your event's at like 2 p.m. that day and you're traveling with your dough, I mean, what are you doing to adjust for that kind of difference?
It depends on weather, right? So if it's a really hot day, you know, I might do a cold ferment or ice water, you know, fermentation to keep the dough a lot cooler. If it's during like the winter time, like we have here in fall where the weather's a lot cooler, I might just ball 8 hours plus ahead of the event before we start. And that gives me enough time to like stretch the dough out, gives me a nice little proof. And then over service, the dough just keeps on getting better as well as I keep on making pizzas because it keeps on proofing. But it's definitely a delicate dance because you don't know what the weather's like, especially the heat's the worst. I like making pizzas during the fall and the winter time. It's my favorite time of the year to make pizza. Summertime, it's brutal. So you have to change your recipe, change the amount of yeast you're using, make sure everything's at the right temperature, and kind of like it's kind of like you're guessing. Like usually, like they'll proof pretty faster in the summertime, is what I noticed. Um, I know before with the other company I was helping run and working for, we would do like a quick rise dough recipe where we did one big bulk fermentation for like 6-8 hours. We'll get to the location and on site just start balling up. Then they'll give us like an hour or two before these things start proofing, and they proof pretty fast. Like we use a lot more yeast, and that seemed to work pretty well. But I kind of like steered away from that method because I'm more. I fell in love with more like the longer fermentations and more of like, I guess, Neapolitan style versus what we were doing more like I guess New York style.
And so what do you do to kind of like make sure your dough doesn't get too hot and that you're only getting out what you need? Are you storing it in a certain place?
You know, I've done some cold proofing, but usually when it's on site and it's hot and you don't have refrigeration, like, so what we do is we turn the AC up in our truck full blast and we leave our dough boxes in there and then we'll pull out what we need. And that kind of keeps it at bay. like truck AC or like we just turn that thing full blast, point the little ventilators right next to the proofing boxes, and we just leave them in there. Like, you don't even open the truck, and we're like, all right, like we'll start making pieces when we need it. So we'll pull out a proofing box one at a time versus like having them sit out.
Damn,
that's kind of a trick that we use.
That is a commitment to dough right there. That's tight. What else? What other tricks you got?
I have a small commissary that I work out of, and depending like on the fridge space, if I can like do like a cold bulk proof fermentation and then ball up, you know, depending on the weather, but I might ball up to like 8 to 10 hours or 6 hours before an event. And then the balls are still pretty cold, and then I keep them in the AC, and then I can just pull them out. So if it's like 90 degrees outside, like we'll start to proof like a little slower or not as fast.
Mm. How much are you paying for your commissary? Do you mind sharing?
It's a friend's restaurant, so it's just a few $100s a month.
Okay.
I'd say it's like $350-$400 a month, you know. But if you were to go to a commissary, you're paying, you know, around $400 or $500 a month, and also by the hour that you're using it as well. So I mean, you can rack up, depending how many hours, you can rack up $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 a month.
Right.
Working out of a commissary like that. So churches are a good place too. Like churches, you know, they don't technically can't charge you anything, but you can give a donation. And I've worked with churches and nonprofits in the past that have like commercial kitchens as well. That's genius. But you know, everything's got its pros and its cons.
Yeah. What was a pro and a con from working at a church?
If you don't have access, sometimes you might not have access 24/7. You might have like a limited amount of hours to work out of, and you know, some things don't have locks. So sometimes, you know, people in the church might grab something, thinking that, you know, it's theirs. So, and you know, you don't want to get mad at them because they're letting you use the spot. But you know, just having the full accessibility that going in and out when you want.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you know, when you're a caterer, like your hours you work a lot of weird hours. Like since you work for yourself, you might have to prep late at night and then wake up early in the morning and get everything ready. You know, so yeah. Some churches they don't want people coming in and out like really late at night.
Right. So it's like you're paying very little money to use their spot, but you have all of these restrictions. And it's like, if you want to run your business the way you want to, ideally you'd want to be able to do it on your own time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's give and take. Right?
It's that dance that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance. You'll figure it out.
I wanted to go back a little bit to your story. You said you started working with a caterer for a bit right after you started working at a pizzeria. What happened to that caterer? Because if I'm not mistaken, you're no longer working with that individual, right?
Yeah. So, last year, COVID, right, put a damper on a lot of businesses and people's lives. And last year was supposed to be a pretty killer year for us. We had at least 80,000 or maybe just under $80,000 of deposits for events for the whole year, for like, weddings, parties, whatnot. And, when COVID happened, it literally, that everything canceled. There was no more work, and, my buddy was, didn't have any work for me. So he ended up making the move in transition to moving his business to Nashville, Tennessee. And then that's when I was doing pop-ups out of my backyard with my Uni Pro, that I had sitting for over a year in my garage. Never used it.
I'm curious to know why you never used the Uni Pro. Like, are you saying you never used it or you hardly used it? Because there's like, I feel like when people get that toy, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to make pizza at home, but maybe it could be different coming from you who does it professionally. What's the story there?
Oh man. I got to use, actually the first Uni I ever got to use was, I think, I can't remember, it was like an old Uni, and it was in New Jersey. I was at a yoga teacher training. I was part of staff in New Jersey. And after the week-long training, my friend that owns the studio wanted to do a pizza party for all the students. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Let's do that. Like, how are we going to do it? So I got this Uni. I'm like, what's an Uni? Like, it's a little, like, portable gas fire, wood fire, pellet fire oven. I'm like, we can make pizzas with that? I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And we fed about like 15 yoga students, and we just, we made the dough, and it was during the summertime in July. So we made the dough the day before, and we got everything at the studio, and we just started making pizzas, and it was really fun. And I was like, oh wow, like, this is such a cool way to experience eating pizza in a very small and intimate way. And that's when I was like, I need to start doing this, because we would never do parties that size with the wood fire oven, because the numbers weren't there. And I was like, well, maybe I can start a little side business with an Uni and doing smaller parties and doing like awesome pizzas with this. So I ended up buying a Pro. I never used a Pro. And then from there, I made pizzas a couple times, and the learning curve with the Uni kind of stopped me from using it. So I put it away because I was so used to like a big wood fire oven. And I probably used it like twice, and that was it. It was just sitting in my garage, covered up, looking shiny and bright, brand new. And then until the pandemic happened, and then I was like, okay, I got to figure this out, because I got to make some pizzas, because people were asking me for pizzas. And I figured it out, and also there was a learning curve, and I got better at it over time.
Yeah, there is a learning curve, and that's okay. But you figured it out. Who were the people asking you for pizzas? Were they neighbors? Were they people who knew you dabbled in pizza? And you didn't just dabble in pizza at this point. It was your profession. Who was asking you for pizzas?
It was pretty much my community where I live at in Sherlock. Like, a lot of my friends would see me make pizza on the Uni during the pandemic. They're like, are you selling some pizza? I'm like, and I was just like practicing and like trying to learn how to use it. So it started off like with a few people coming and picking up pizza, and I was working on different types of dough fermentation and blends and whatnot. So I kind of just figured out I should just keep it simple. And then next thing you know, I was just on my I would just post on my social media, hey, I'm giving out, free pizzas, come by, pick it up. And then eventually say, hey, I'm selling pizzas, $10. You can come by and, curbside, whatever. And, it went from selling like 20 pizzas to, I think, 90 pizzas was like the max I did out of a Uni Pro, which took forever, all day. But that was like I think 160 people showed up to my house that day.
Wow. All on one Uni?
And it was all on one Uni. That was I didn't have time to look at people or talk to anybody, and then it kind of turned into a party. People were just hanging out. Friends were like, "Oh, I'll be right back." I'm like, "Where are you going?" They're like, "No, I'm gonna go get some beer. I'll be back." I'm like, "What do you mean you need to get some beer?" And next thing you know, like my backyard, if you can see behind me, I have a pretty good sized backyard. People were just showing up and just hanging out and drinking. And I'm just like making pizzas. I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to like have these many people over here, but I gotta make these pizzas. And so I pumped them out. It took like 5 hours. It took like 5 hours to cook 90 pizzas off of Uni Pro. And I had some friends who worked with me in the past making pizzas, and we saw that I was like in the weeds, and they're like, "You need help?" And I just looked at them like, "Yeah, please." And then they were just.
Did you say 90 or 160?
It was 160 people, but I had 90 pizzas. But 160 people showed up. So yeah, so I had some friends help me out, and then I was just beat up, and that's when it kind of like hit me like, okay, there's something here with the Uni that I can do. And I've created something with it that's possible. And then, I would do a couple pop-ups here and there. And then eventually I got the Coda 16. Then it was like, it's on. Now I have 2 ovens, and now I can handle volume. And now, fast forward now, I have 5 Unis total.
Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Hold on. Before we go on to the 5 Unis, what was the learning curve? Because this just came up to me. Like, what was the learning curve? What was so hard to get used to? And maybe the difference between your wood-fired oven and getting into that Uni Pro at initially.
Oh, it was like wood-fired ovens. Like there's like that, I would say consistent heat, but it's a lot hotter. And I noticed like with the Unis, well, first of all, I guess I put in my gas burner in the Uni the wrong way, and I had it at the top, like, so it wasn't really keeping the heat like I wanted to, so it wasn't cooking the pizzas fast enough. And just like learning to keep on moving that pizza in the Uni because they cook so fast and it's so close to that heat source that it can burn the pizza really quick. So that was the learning curve, because with the wood fire, you can like move the pizza away from the heat source and it could be a little slower cook. If you want to cook a little faster, bring it closer, right? So that was, learning to keeping an eye on those pizzas. Like you cannot look away for like 10 seconds. That pizza is going to be like black. And that was just like that was the learning curve for me, because I knew I was able to walk away from a wood fire oven while pizza's in there and do what I got to do and then come back and get to it. Now with the Unis, like I understand there's like a 2 or 3 second variable where like, oh, I got 2 or 3 seconds before I got to like turn this pizza because it's not going to burn.
But once you figure that out and you get more ovens, you can crank them out, because I've seen you do it.
I'll crank them out, man. I can crank it. I think I did my first big pop up in December last year. Also that day was raining, and I didn't think nobody was going to show up, and people showed up, and I had a line just for my pizza, and I had a Pro and a Coda, and I sold out. I think I sold 80 pizzas that day. I had a team, so I was just, making pizza skins. My friend who was like a amazing chef, like he's a private chef for celebrities, and then my cousin was helping me, and I was just like handing the pizza skin to my cousin. He was making the pizzas. We were just doing pepperonis, margaritas, and we just we pumped them out, and we did like 80 pizzas in an hour 45, less than 2 hours, and that was the most I ever did with that setup, and I was just like, holy shit, like this is, like, I did it, and it was raining, and it was cold, and there was people waiting in line in the rain to get pizza.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that it, like, to be a customer waiting in line for pizza, it sounds so terrible, but to be able to eat your pizza hot and fresh coming out of that uni, smoking hot still when you get it, I'm sure the trade-off would be worth it, because those pizzas are coming out hot.
They're coming out hot, especially on a cold day. And, and I like to do like my unis are all like covered in like spray paint graffiti art from like local artists from, my area that I grew up around. So I think that's kind of like something that I was already into. Like I wanted to do art and pizza at the same time. So if you look at like, my uni ovens, they're all painted for the most part, except for like 2 that are getting painted right now.
Is it the same artist that's doing all of your ovens?
Yeah, same artist. I have a couple artists who are going to work on some other ovens for me. Now that like people are like looking at me like, oh, I want to do one. Yeah, no problem. Like, let me go buy a new uni and I'll let you paint it.
You want to shout out the artists or not?
Yeah. His name's Joel Aguilar. His I think his Instagram handle is Gamut, GAUMT 92, I believe. I got it right here. Let me look it up on Instagram because he does amazing murals all throughout the Central Valley. He's doing one in Mexico here pretty soon. Gamut, GAMUT _92 is his Instagram handle. Give him a follow. He's done all my artwork on my trailer that I carry all my equipment. And then I have one other oven that I did that was a collab with artist called Goku and Eddie Rodriguez. And I don't ever use that. I've never used that oven after it got painted. It's just a table piece now. It's a code of 12. And it has like a toucan bird on it and a bunch of little art. And Goku and Eddie are also very, very, very talented artists in the Merced area of California. And they're doing amazing things as well.
Why is it important to you to paint your ovens? Is it like expression? Is it to stand out?
At the time when I first painted my first oven, I wanted to, express my personality, but I also wanted to bring in like people from a different community that is not really in the pizza community. When it comes to like graffiti art, or just art in general, like I don't really notice it in the pizza community. Like there's a few places now that I notice that have like that in their in their business, either on their restaurants or whatnot. But I've always liked art, and even if it was a way to me at the time to put money in a artist's pocket, just so for him to do art while I'm making pizzas, because I got money coming in, so might as well keep the money within the community and create like these relationships with these artists and do pizza, because like who doesn't like art and who doesn't like pizza? Pizza's art at the end of the day.
I like that. Cool. So now you have 5 ovens. When did you decide like, oh shit, 2 ovens isn't going to cut it? Now it's time to get more.
I would say January this year, earlier this year, it's right before I bought my trailer. I realized that, okay, things might be opening up here pretty soon this year. People already know I make pizzas. People know I've been catering for that long. Now that I'm doing it on my own, I need to handle the volume. So if I can do 3 to 5 pizzas at a time with my uni, I can handle parties of at least 100 people, right? Because, I made that decision, like, I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to go work or try to do little side jobs. I'm just going to be 100% committed to making pizza and, building my own catering company and doing it the way I want to do it. So the unis were the first choice, because the Coda 16 is like, I kind of love the Coda 16, because it's got like so much room to move around and play with. And you can do so much more. You can do, a lot of different styles of pizzas in that oven.
So you have, 5 ovens now. You're running, do you have a team doing all of these events? Or is it just kind of like whoever you can hire?
Whoever I can hire at the time. I have some people who are consistent. I had my cousin who was helping me out before he moved back to South America for a little bit. But pretty much I'm a one-man show. Like, I do all the booking, I do all the prepping. If I can get some like hands the day of the event, like that's like the big thing. Like having bodies to make pizzas for me and like topping and do whatever I can have them do. So it just kind of alleviates some stress on my end for doing everything. But for the most part, is I have some consistent people. Like, I have like a handful of people that I can like just send a mass text like, hey, you guys want to work this weekend? Or I got these many jobs coming up this month. Just let me know if you guys want to work. And I pay, I make sure I take care of them. I pay them pretty good. Definitely way more than minimum wage.
Can you share what it is?
Yeah. So, I mean, usually, like last night, I did an event for 120 people. My guys, I had 2 guys with me. We both, I picked them up at 4 p.m. We started the event at 7, but we had food on the table by 7, and we got home by like 9:30, 10. And
5 hours.
They got paid 150. Yeah, for 150 bucks. We both got 150 bucks for the day.
Nice. When do you decide?
More than wage.
Oh yeah, definitely. What is the cutoff for you? Like, oh, I have 120 people. I'm going to hire 2 people. Or is there like a sweet number where it's like, oh, there's only this many pizzas, I don't need to bring anyone on?
Yeah. It's like 40 people I can do by myself. I've done 60 people by myself. But anything after 40, I start asking for like another body if I can get it. But yeah, anything over 40 people, I want to have one other person there. And it's good to have like new blood, even at small parties like that, where it's not as intense and not stressful. So I can have more time to focus and to kind of like train them. I was doing a lot of pop-ups last year, like just random, like vendor fairs, vendor pop-ups, which is definitely a grind, and a lot more stressful because you got to take orders, keep everything in order, take money, so it requires a bigger team than catering. So I would have the new people that would work with me come and do pop-ups with me, throw them in the wolves and see what they're made out of. And then I'm like, oh, let's do catering next week. You'll like it. I trust me. And then they're like, oh, I love catering. I never want to do pop-ups again. I'm like,
what's the main difference in your opinion between the two, pop-ups and catering?
Oh, so when you're doing like a catering event, you get there a couple hours before, set up, start prepping all your pizzas, and get ready for service time. So if you're going to be feeding people like at 7, I like to get there like 2 hours ahead of time, set up, start making pizzas, because sometimes you never know what you're walking into. So you might need like a little extra time to figure out like where to set your because I have a wood fire oven as well. It's either like the wood fire oven or the uni setup. So it gives me an idea how I could set up and like where we're going to serve the food at. So you kind of chill in for a little bit, making pizzas, getting them ready for service. And as soon as service starts, you're just pumping pizzas out, putting them on the table. People are eating them. Within the first hour, it starts to slow down, and then you can work on making more pizzas, and then it's done. With the pop-up, if it's a busy one, it's like nonstop for it could be like a 5-hour event, but you're grinding for 5 hours, right? And so you're like, you're not, it's like nonstop moving. It's a little bit more, it takes a little bit more out of you to do a pop-up, and then also the money is not as good as catering as well. So for the same amount of time and less people, and for the same amount of pizzas that I'm making at a catering event versus a pop-up, I might be making like twice as much or 3 times as much at a catering event.
Really?
Yeah.
So it seems like your time is better spent on catering events. What's a great way for people to get more catering events lined up? Because I imagine you're only doing the pop-ups when there isn't a catering event going on. Is that, am I assuming that correctly?
Yeah, for the most part, it's I'm I'm really picking out what kind of pop-ups I do now. But if you're new to the pizza pop-up game, like I just say go out there and just go do pop-ups. Like it's a great way to learn how to make pizza, like under high stressful like situations where like I got to pump these out, people are coming orders, So when and you're gonna get catering business from that as well, if you want to do catering, if that's something that someone wants to do. But I'd say pop-ups, learn how to understand like logistics. That's all gonna help you play in part. So when you do catering event, you're like, oh, this is a piece of cake. So it's like learn, practice, 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 and more practice. Because practice doesn't make perfect. It just, it makes progress, right? And that's, it's like when you first make your first pizza skin, right? Like, how does that come out, right? It comes out all weird. Like, I see people like trying to like stretch it by hand. Like, oh no, that's not how you do it. But after like your 1,000 pizza that you made, you can do it with your eyes closed and it looks perfect. So it's a progress, right? So I always recommend people, do pop-ups, keep on learning. It's gonna you're gonna get that like aha moment, like, oh, I get it now, and then we can like level up after that.
It seems like catering's the way to go. How come people just don't do that full time?
Yeah, well, you know what? I've met people who do pizza and they rather have a restaurant. They're not big fans of catering. And I've met other pizza guys who've had, catering businesses. They don't like, it's like there's a lot of like work. Like, like if you have to unload something, you got to touch something like 4 times and then, touch it 4 times again and put it back and then clean. There's like the behind the scenes stuff. Like that's not just showing up and making pizzas. Like now you have all this stuff that you got to clean. So you might get home late or to the commissary late, and you're like, I gotta wash all this stuff because if not, like it's gonna stay dirty because you gotta use it the next day. So it's like, okay, like the work doesn't stop after you stop making pizza. Like it's not even over yet. You're halfway done. Once you get back to the location, you gotta clean up, you gotta unload, you gotta go through over your inventory. So it's kind of hectic in a way. Some people just want that location where people come to them, and that's fine. There's a certain breed of people that like to cater, especially when it comes to pizza, because like I said, you don't know what you're walking into at every event, and you gotta like have some really critical thinking skills, like how to overcome some of these situations when it comes to like the weather, clients, if you get a flat tire or if your axle comes off, which has happened, there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Yeah, it sounds like you have some crazy stories dealing with catering. What's the like craziest story that you've dealt with, if you have one?
I got a lot, but the craziest one was we did a wedding on top of a mountain. The house was on top of the mountain in Murphy's, California. And Murphy's is north of, I guess, Sonora, or north of Yosemite. It's a cool little wine mountain town, like a lot of like wineries up there. Well, this is like a private residence, but they rented out the residence 10 times a year for venues for like weddings. And the view was probably one of the best views I've ever seen at any pizza catering event, where you can see the Central Valley. Like you can see as far as to Modesto, and it's pretty far. It's a good 80 miles away from Modesto. But when we're looking out from the view, and we saw like a lot of storm clouds coming in. We're like, oh look, it looks like it's raining in Modesto. Like, hopefully that doesn't come this way. And we're setting up. the wedding's going on. The wind starts picking up. Our tent flies away. Our pop-up tent flies away, and then we had to go run after it. You know, everything's kind of like the wind is coming in sideways. Everything's lifting up. Like, it was just a really mess to work in. And then it started raining. And it wasn't just raining, normal rain. It was raining sideways. So even if you had a pop-up tent to cover you from the rain, you're getting rain coming in from the side. So we're soaking wet. We got to make pizzas. We moved our pop-up tent and the oven towards the building, next to the building, to give us some sort of protection. You know, pizzas are getting wet. I think we ended up pulling the wedding off. We ended up cooking all the pizzas and had a few mistakes, but we still finished the job. But it started hailing. It was cold. It was raining. I think I was soaked. Like, every inch on my body from all my clothes was like drenched in water. So that was probably like the craziest event we've ever done.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I guess going back to our conversation earlier about like pop-ups versus catering versus having a restaurant, it's that, you know, catering sounds like it's a high return on your investment, but there's a lot of investment in time and grinding and dealing with it. Like, I just want to say it with some bullshit, right? You're dealing with the rain, you're dealing with pop tires when you're moving, you're getting paid to deal with all of that stuff, for dealing with all of that stuff.
Yeah. It's not for everybody.
It's not. But that said, it's fun for you. It's fun for you. You get a lot of joy out of it. Just, if I may ask, like, what do you charge for like 100 people?
My prices definitely went up since, you know, inflation and everything's went up in price. You know, for a price for 100 people, it can run anywhere from 13 to 16, 1700, depending what the menu looks like.
That includes your taxes and tips?
Taxes, tips, all that, yeah.
Okay. And you figure you're going to hire 2 people?
Yeah, for that party, yeah, labor too.
You give them like $300 at the end of the night for 5 hours, and then you keep like, you know, anywhere from like $1,000 to $1,400 for yourself for one event. Yeah,
like the margins are anywhere from like 50 to 70%, you know, depending what kind of ingredients you have and you're using, and, you know, they're pretty good margins. Like, you know, I think in restaurants you're working out of 20% margins if you're lucky.
Damn, that's solid though. Earlier you mentioned you have another wood-fired oven. So you don't just have 5 unis, but you also have a Munyaini.
Munyaini, yes, I have a Munyaini. It's 120.
What does that mean? What is the 120?
It's just the size of like the floor space of the oven, so it's a pretty good size. I think I can fit anywhere from 6 to 8 pizza ovens. Not pizza ovens, 6 to 8 12-inch pizzas in there at a time.
When do you decide, like, I'm going to take the wood-fired oven, the Munyaini, versus a few unis?
Ooh, it really depends. But I think after 100 people, I'll start considering the wood-fired oven. But I've done parties of 100 people with the unis as well. Especially if the customer requests it. Like, we want the unis, because the great thing about the unis is I can set up anywhere. So if they want me to set up inside of the middle of the party while people are like partying, like drinking, they have a band, like I've been like next to the band, I can do that, right? But if it's 100 plus and if I'm the main course, like obviously like I'll probably want to bring my wood fire just to handle the volume. Like, not where like I feel like I'm like trying to keep up. So, you know, that's when I start considering it.
That's really cool. You made yourself very versatile. Like, you don't just rely on your unis, but you don't just rely on the wood-fired oven. You have this ability to be able to go here or go there, depending on the location, depending on what your setup looks like. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, like today, I think after this podcast, I have a party for 15 people. So obviously I'm taking my unis for that, you know?
And then you have a trailer that kind of holds everything together. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. So I have a trailer that carries all like my tables, equipment. Also, it's spray painted. It's an art piece. It's a traveling art piece. And that's like my uni setup. I call that's my uni setup. And then I got my wood fire setup. So I have a truck that pulls my wood fire oven, and I pull my uni setup with my little Audi Q5, and I can do a lot cooler events, which I really enjoy. I think the majority of my business now is like 90% uni.
So you really only use the oven when you need to, but most of them are uni. And is there a benefit to using just the uni over aside from the space restrictions, is there do you use less fuel when you're using the unis? Do you use less gas for towing?
Less gas, less fuel. And the unis are so efficient. Like a full tank of like a 5-gallon tank, I can do 4 to 5 catering events with one full tank of propane.
Wow.
Is what I noticed. Yeah. It really depends how long the event, but like it's averaging 3 to 5, right? I usually never let it get that low because, I'd rather have a full oven, a full propane tank. So I always get them refilled, but yeah, they're pretty efficient, and it's like easy setup. It's like, set up your tables, put them on there, hook up the gas line. Let's rock. Let's go.
That is solid.
And
I like
the heat
that.
stays consistent too.
Are you cooking on full blast?
Well, yeah, I'm cooking on full blast for the most part, because if you're doing multiple pizzas like at a time, that stone loses some heat after a while. So you want to keep it hot, and you want to keep it. I might wait a couple minutes in between the next pizza to let it kind of warm up again, or I push it closer to the heat source. It's like you're playing around. Like for me, what I noticed with my pizza is I might start away in the far right corner where it's not as hot, and then work my way down towards the hottest part and just finish it off. But if I'm pumping them out, eventually that pizza gets closer because it's not hot enough at that right corner anymore. So that's what I noticed. Little tips and tricks that I use. I'm like, okay, now I kind of understand how this oven works.
You're talking about the back right corner, right?
Yeah, the back right corner where it's away from the heat source, but so when you're in full blast, that's where you start at. That's where I usually start at, and then I work my way closer, or keep it there. Or if I'm already 20 pizzas deep into one of the ovens, that pizza starts to get closer to the heat source, because obviously the stone is not as hot at that corner anymore. So I have to move the pizza closer, and I got to keep on turning it, making sure it's not going to burn.
Closer to the intersection of the L is what you're saying.
Yeah. Intersection of the L.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate all the tips. I just have, I want to know, it seems like you have a really good thing going here. And what's your end goal? Do you have one? Do you have this, vision for Sanctuary Pizza? What are you trying to do with it?
Oh man. I feel like I have so many ideas that I want to do with Sanctuary. There might, I think maybe year 5, I might consider a brick and mortar, still catering focused, but also becoming kind of a media company as well for pizza, and showing what the pizza community is about, what I'm doing, what other people are doing. Don't know what that will look like, but I know there's definitely some people that are inspiring me to go that route, and kind of document the journey of this, and what's going on in the pizza world. Because a lot of people don't even know there's a pizza expo.
Yeah, I didn't know until 2019. I was on a Turo Facebook chat, and one of the for a car rental company. I used to rent 5 cars out on Turo. car sharing, and one of the Turo hosts that I was always like listening to, he was a chef and he was going to Pizza Expo that year or the following year. And that was the first time I ever heard about it.
Yeah, you're like, what, Pizza Expo? Like, it sounds cool already, right? It's like, there's an expo for pizza. And I remember the first time I went, I was just like blown away. And that was probably like I think that was like the first time I actually like, be like, oh wow, there's so much more to pizza. And like the bug hit me. Like, I loved it. Like, oh wow, like we can do this, we can do that. Like, and, you know, I've gone back ever since. Like, I think that's where like the love of like making pizza like was kind of like Cupid's arrow, right? It's like, boom, go to Pizza Expo, get hit with Cupid's arrow, and then like you just fall in love with pizza right after that.
What's cool about Pizza Expo is that, like, honestly, you don't have to be an operator to go. You don't even have to be this like pizza nerd like you and me to go, right? I mean, I consider you an operator, but I myself am not. And I even think that I could bring my brother-in-law to Pizza Expo just to eat pizza and like I get educated, because it's that like, it's that fun in my opinion. Damn it, Pizza Today, you got to hook me up, man. I'm always bumping you guys.
God damn it, Pizza Today. I know, right? But it's what a great community and what a great expo, right? Like, it's open to the public if you feel it, and come hang out and see what we're doing. Cause I feel like I've worked in different types of industries, and I feel like the pizza community, the pizza industry, everybody's for the most part really, really cool, very helpful. You know, we're always like, you know, helping each other level up. And, you know, that's huge. You don't find that in every type of industry.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So I guess going back to the media company, why is that important to you? Like, you're documenting the process, you're making pizza more well-known. What is it? Yeah,
documenting the process is one. Also just like, kind of like, we live in a world where everybody's like on the phone, social media apps, and, you know, like you create your own like commercials and marketing content so people know what you're doing, right? And I think like pizza is going through like a revolution. I think the world's going through a revolution, like with every industry. Like, people can work for themselves, you can create content, and make that a full-time job as well. So, I know, I'll be 40 next years old, so I don't know how many more years I have left in me to do catering, because it kind of beats you up sometimes. So it's like, you know, it's like I need to like travel and do other things with pizza, and eventually like catering, it'd be a point where I have to step away from that, and then I have to start teaching other people how to run their business or do this stuff. And I want to have all that, like, record of all that. And also just, you know, for like, even like if like my nieces and nephews and other family members can see what I'm doing, and and you know, it's going to be there forever. So future generations are like, oh, this is your uncle, this is your grandpa. He did this back during the pandemic, you know, in 2020. This is year 2050 now, and like, I think the world's different, you know. And it's a recorded history, it's video, pictures, and this is what we're doing.
I 100% agree. This is like you know, we are living right now in like the coolest time, and we're able to have proof of what it's like. Like, if you go back 100 years, like if people were podcasting 100 years ago, we wouldn't have known about it. You know what I mean? Like, if we're, they didn't even have the technology to do so. But, you know, now we're doing what we're doing now, and we can show our future selves and our future generations to come, like, what the hell was cool, what the hell interested us back in 2021.
Yeah. It even take it a step notch. Like, now we have this virtual reality world called the metaverse, right? Like how are pizza restaurants and pizza people who are selling pizza or creating content, like how are they able to, you know, consume pizza through that? Like, what is that going to look like? Like, can you order pizza from the metaverse and it shows up at your doorstep? Like, is it, like, we don't even know, right? Right?
Shit.
Yeah, like it's anything's possible. So like I think, having the content and gearing up and being ready for that new revolution of like how we interact with each other and buy goods is, a good step to go forward to. I think that's probably something that most pizza restaurants or, pizza business people should start considering. Like, this is the route we need to start getting into before, like, get into it now,
Technology and change, and it's all inevitable. And the fact that there is a metaverse being built in front of us, it's like, oh crap. It makes me wonder, are you and I going to have our next conversation like sitting directly in front of each other, but you're in Turlock and I'm in San Jose, yet it feels like, it feels like we're right next to each other. Is that how it's going to be? That to me is dope, because I've hung out with you in person. We've talked on the phone, but it's like, it's different when you and I are recording on this, program that I have here. There's still somewhat of a connection, but there's still that barrier. And I wonder if the metaverse is going to remove that barrier just a little bit more.
Yeah. Right. Like, it's, who knows what's going to look like and what's going to feel like. And, we'll probably be like sitting in our living room with big old goggles on and gloves and like moving around. But we're in this virtual world, right? There'll be like code of Uni 16 in the metaverse. We're cooking pizza in the metaverse. Oh man,
that's cool. Damn. Well, I mean, we're only time will tell, right? Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Yeah. Hopefully, I get to see it.
Yeah, me too. 100. I hope we both do. If you don't mind, where did you get the name Sanctuary Pizza?
After that big backyard pop-up during like the middle of the pandemic last year, one of my friends hit me up and asked me if I had pizzas left. And I said, oh, no, I just sold out. But next time I'll have pizzas, or I'll make some extra pizzas tomorrow and I'll just bring them over to your house. It's a really good friend of mine, like family friend, grew up with her my whole life, and good friends with the brother as well. And she's like, oh, that's so awesome. I'm happy that you sold out. And she's all, but she's like, Ryan, like, thank you for having that pop up. Like it was everybody's sanctuary to get together and, hang out. And cause everybody that came to my house were like people, we all grew up with each other, friends, part of the community, and everybody was locked up in the house for so long that people got to hang out and like have a beer and just chill and eat pizza. And she said it was, she's like, oh, that was like everybody's sanctuary. Like your backyard pop up was everybody's sanctuary. And I was just like, damn, that's a fucking cool name. Like Sanctuary. Like Sanctuary. And I played with the idea, like Sanctuary Pizza, Sanctuary. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And, it's now over a year now. We're like, here we are, Sanctuary Pizza. This is what I do. And, I do a lot of other things. I do like a lot of charity pop-ups. So it kind of fits with the name, right? It's like what's the word sanctuary mean? It's like a refuge, a place where people can seek refuge or, help or, anything that they need to get. So
a place where everyone is welcome.
Yes. And, and that's kind of like, a big thing, like in the yoga community too. Like everybody's welcome. When you come to the yoga studio, like doesn't matter like what you look like, how you move, just come practice. You're welcome here. This place is for you. Like, it doesn't matter if it's your first time or you're like been practicing yoga for like 20 years. Like we're all here together. Like this is like a community. This is your refuge. You're safe here. So eat my pizza.
Yeah. It makes sense because like, when I think sanctuary, I do think a little bit, it can be intimate, right? And that's kind of what you were going for at first. I mean, a sanctuary can be huge, but it's definitely like, the people there, everyone's just trying to have a good time. And it kind of goes with like the ethos of your work is that, you're trying to build this like cool vibe for folks to just get around and eat your pizza.
Yeah. And hang out and just relax. Like it's like you're in a good safe place. And even talking about like, I've done a lot of stuff for like a local charity that does like food literacy programs for kids.
Yeah.
So they show kids how to farm and stuff like that. And I probably raised I think this last year alone, probably 8, 10 grand, 12 grand for them. Just in like
Really?
cheap pizza, cherry pie. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a local ministry that I grew up going to as a kid, and it's in my neighborhood. And they feed 200 people Monday through Thursday every day. Like those 4 days, they're feeding over 200 people, kids. Like I'll do pizza day for the kids as well. Like I'll always make a bunch of cheese and pepperoni pizzas, and the kids will like love it. But eventually, like I want to do stuff more for them and like show them how to make pizza.
What drives you to do that?
A lot of these kids are like my neighbors, like people I grew up with. Like they're like people that kids like a lot of my friends' kids go there. Like people that I grew up as a child have kids, they go there. Either they're low income or some of these kids come from, homes that are not the best for them, right? Parents are not there, or, they don't have enough money, resources. Just to be a positive figure for them. Like, hey, I'm from the hood. I can make pizza and start a business. You can do something as well.
I love that. You're such a great role model to these kids. You're doing things for your community, and that's freaking awesome, man. And you're self-employed doing you. You're on a great track, dude. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. You as well, man. Like you got this awesome podcast that lets people like us tell our story,
Thank you. I appreciate that. I always appreciate good feedback, and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy because people like you inspire me, man. Like you got my wheels turning. You make me want to go out and just do more than I can. Cause like, as we were talking about earlier, our time here on earth is limited. So not only do we have to document it, but we got to make the most out of it. Right. And do what we can, and make it a life worth living.
100%. It's bigger than a paycheck. Like it's bigger than the money. Like when I think about, like, I had my 2 guys working with me, and one of them's like 21, 22 years old, very young. And then the other guy's like 27. And, it's like I came to that age where like, oh, I have to be a mentor now. Not just like with making pizza, but like in life, like these guys, like, hey, like you need to get your shit together. You got to do this, this, and this and that. Like I care about you guys. You guys, like one of the kids that works with me, like I grew up with his mom his whole life. Like I know her, the whole family, and he didn't have the greatest life, I can say, but he's working with me. Like I could put him under my wing and be like, hey, like keep your head up. Let's grind. Let's work. It's gonna get better. Now he has like a little burger pop up, and like I support him 100%. Now he's doing burgers. Like he's making it happen.
Dope.
It's like I told him, hey, dude, like he asked me, should I do it? I'm all, yeah, do it. Like what are you scared of? He's all, getting caught. You're not gonna go to jail. So what if you get caught? Like just like figure it out. The golden nuggets is in learning, right? Like there's no failures. There's only learning. You're not failing. And then it's like there's so much empowerment just by like coming out of your comfort zone and doing something that people don't think that's possible to do. And you do it and you make it work and you grow from that, and it grows into something. Like taking that first step is the biggest step in anybody's life. Anybody's life. Like I can imagine if you never took that first step and started this podcast, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't interviewed all these amazing pizza makers from the whole United States, if not the world, that are like they're doing amazing things in the community, and they're on your podcast. But you took that first step, and like I'm proud of you for doing that, and that inspires me.
Thanks, bro. And yeah, just to anyone listening, take that first step. You never know what you're going to end up with, but as Ryan here is saying, like, that's the only way you're going to learn is if you take that step. Even if you fall, it's not a failure. You learn and you keep it moving. You figure it out, just like Ryan's doing.
Yeah, you figure it out. You fall down 7 times, you get up 8.
Hey. Dude, I
Yep. So
love
that
that.
I think that's like my biggest piece of advice. Like it's and that transfers to anything in life. If it's pizza, podcast, starting a business, relationships, whatever. Just take that first step. See what happens.
I almost want to end it there. Maybe that will be the end. I am curious to know though, like, what are you using? I have two structured questions that I ask at the end, and I also want to know what you're making on your pies, if that's okay.
Yeah.
What flour are you using?
Right now, currently, I'm using Caputo Pizzeria, the blue bag, and Central Milling, the rose high gluten flour.
Is that a
And
mix?
I'm blending that. It's like, yeah, I'm blending both flours together. I'd say I'm doing like 70% Caputo, 30% high gluten.
What tomatoes are you using?
Oh man, I go back and forth a lot, but currently right now I'm using Bianco di Napoli.
What cheese?
Oh, Grande.
And what if you had one topping to make your pizzas with only? What would you have that topping be? You can either use it as a pre-bake or post-bake.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a hard one. I've been into dude, I've really been into like ricotta cheese and burrata cheese lately.
Do you do your ricotta pre or post?
I've done both, but I've been depending on the pizza, but I like it like post bake as well.
And if you had to describe your pizza in one sentence, your pizza business in one sentence, kind of like an elevator pitch, how would you describe it?
Oh man, it's an experience. It's an experience, man. It's a vibe.
Oh, damn. I like that. That's dope. Usually I ask, what's one mistake that people can avoid in the pizza business? Do you have an answer for that? Not
having contracts, especially for catering, or like having like the right written contracts, and that's a big one.
Have you experienced anything where that's kind of bit you in the ass?
Oh yeah. It's not too much, but it's happened before. Where it's always people who are the closest to you, right? Where you guys agree upon a price, and you're like, okay, you let your guard down because you know this person, and they don't pay you in full, and you kind of ghost you. So it's like, all right. But if you have a contract, then obviously you could take that to court, but even then it's still better than not having one. Especially when you do big parties. Big parties, you want to have contracts.
Solid advice. That's something that's priceless. You can't forget that. And thank you for reminding me and other folks. And what do you want to leave the audience with today?
Oh man, just take that first step. Live life. Have fun. When you wake up and you're doing what you want to do and you enjoy it, like can't put a price on that. It doesn't matter what kind of economic background you come from or who you are, like just, find that peace and happiness just in what you do every day. That's priceless.
I love that. Thank you. Yo, that was fun. Thank you for being on the show, bro.
No, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. I mean, I feel like I have so much to say and I can go on forever and ramble. Oh man. I don't think when it comes to me learning how to make pizzas, like it's still a journey for me too. And like I'm not I don't try to compare myself to anybody, but when I look at people out there who are like way more advanced than I am, they're making beautiful pizzas. They understand the science behind it better than I do. And, it's like I strive to be that. So I think never stop learning. Like keep on learning. Like everybody's journey is different. You know, and for me, like my pizza 3 months ago isn't the same pizza I have today. And my pizza a year ago is totally different than what it is today. You know, even people who've had my pizza last year and they never had it since then, I'm like, oh, I have a totally different style of pizza now. Like, it tastes different. It's better now. And I imagine in 2 years or a year from now, my pizza is going to be different. So I'd say always keep learning, always keep evolving, keep people on their toes. And, you know, that's it. If you're, you know, if you're just happy with what you do and just stay stagnant, there's no growth there. And people are attracted to growth. So they want to be a part of that journey as well. So just, you know, just keep learning.
Dude, you're spot on, because like, you know, I was just listening to an episode from April. I was listening to an episode from April the other day on my podcast. Like, I usually don't listen to my old episodes, not anymore at least, because I cringe. It's awkward. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And that was just in April. All right. And then when you told me, we were doing this pre-chat the other day, and you told me like, oh yeah, I listened to your first episode and it's interesting to see your growth. And I listened to the first episode. I almost want to throw up. And that was only 2 years ago. So it's like,
yeah. It's the one I listened to was on Spotify. Was it Spotify? Because the one I listened to was on Spotify, but I don't know if that was the one where you worked with the pizza maker from your area. Like, what's his name? Is it New York Pizza or something? I can't remember like that. Like,
yeah,
you were doing like
Slice of New York.
Slice of New York. That's what it was. Yeah, that's the one I listened to, and I was like, oh yeah, like, it's awesome, great.
Yeah, so it's like those first episodes. It wasn't even that long ago, right? And so it's like, you're right. I shouldn't compare myself to people like Bruce Irving, who's been doing this for 5 years or however long, Steve Dolinsky, who's been doing this for whatever. It's just like slow and steady progress. Keep it moving. Keep on getting better for yourself.
100%. Like if you don't start, you'll never finish.